Mindfulness classes and social emotional learning classes should definitely be imported into schools all over the world. In other countries across the world, mindfulness and social emotional learning classes are imported into the schools just as mandatory as math or science. As opposed to the US, they are not mandatory. And that is why the gun violence and violence in other countries is so low. Because in the United States, I guess we're more focused on academics than we are on gun violence. And I feel like that's a really big part in getting these into schools because teaching them mindfulness could help them be happier, peace, content, loving adults and less anxious teenagers.
It's not teachers' fault. It's the way the schools are structured that teachers have to hit the scores, academically what's required of them, and instead they're taking away from the mental health aspect of our children. And I think that's important, and that's something that we're missing this day and age.
I believe it should be. There's way too many kids going off the wrong way and just not get on the right track because of some outside influence. I think mindfulness and kindness is something that should be a part of the daily routine, starting from little kids, from daycare to elementary school to middle school to high school, all the way up, so we can know how to work together and be one with each other.
I think it's very important for kids to understand all of this.
It should be 100% mandatory, but it should be part of a daily curriculum and not just a project that comes and goes through a school. Kids need daily reminders. Adults need daily reminders.
I'm very lucky with the school that I'm at. My principal and administration 100% back our peer counseling program, and every day we work on social emotional learning. Every day we work on mindfulness, and my kids take that out into the mainstream school setting so they can help other kids in the building handle situations and problems and difficulties. We have a peer mentoring program, peer tutoring program. We help with conflict mediations, and my students do all of that. So I'm very lucky that my school is willing to look at not just academics, but social emotional health as well.
This type of teaching should be integrated into everyday school activities, not as a isolated course so much, but just what teaching by example and discussion. I think learning about kindness and gratitude, lack of bullying, are things that ought to come up all the time in schools.
Children learn by example, and they can absorb all these mindful behaviors, and eventually it becomes part of their own personality and character.
Mindfulness should absolutely be mandatory in education. The science proves that social and emotional learning really sets children up to be successful adults, and that's what we all want as parents, is a better life for our kids.
I think these types of programs definitely would be very beneficial to schools. It has so many benefits in school and out of school, whether it counts as to kids acting up in class or out of school, thinking about how others will be affected by their actions, and I think it could have amazing effects towards our society as a whole.
Absolutely, yes. Other countries around the world have mindfulness as part of their mandatory curriculum, just like math and science. Social emotional learning too. They teach kids how to cope with life and interact with others so when they grow up they can resolve issues or deal with stress in productive ways and not resort to violence. Learning how to communicate or to be positive, not to bully, but to be kind, and tools for calming and focusing can also help with reducing illness, boosting the immune system, better grades, less depression, anxiety, and just happier, more content, peace-loving adults.
If there were programs, and my sons went to a school when they were in middle school, that gave just as much importance to the emotional, psychological, and mental self as it did the academic self, because actually the academic self will not thrive if something is terribly wrong or not right with the emotional self. It could be easily that could be wrong with what's wrong with the child. Well, that's what's happening with the child, and that's why they are suffering academically.
I think it would be a great course to have, because it would open up a whole new way of communication for students. They would have an outlet, and it would make everyone aware. I think it would be a great program. I would love to see that at our school, at any of the schools, definitely.
Mindfulness should absolutely be mandatory in education. Social and emotional learning at the earliest stages are really important in raising well-grounded and successful adults.
It's such a big part of our life, and with the lack of it, you can see in the world what's going on in the distress and disorder. So just by having it and raising kids at a young age to be mindful and be compassionate and all of those things, the world will become better.
Students definitely need to learn how to deal with each other. It's something back when I went to school that we really didn't have to think about because we all dealt with each other on a normal basis. But nowadays, with the social media and the way kids treat each other online, they need to learn now how to see and treat each other face to face. And programs like this will definitely help students work together to have better communication skills.
I absolutely think that these programs should be mandatory in school at all levels, elementary, middle, and high school. I think it's really, really important that we start focusing on things other than academics. Other countries around the world, they make these programs a priority, and their violence is less. And we need, in the United States, we need to do the same thing. We need to put social emotional learning on the curriculum, mindfulness as part of the curriculum. We need to teach our kids and our teens and our tweens how to cope with life and teach them these life skills. It's really, really important. And if we can do it, we can stop the violence. But we need to start doing it in early education. We need to teach about mental health issues before people become mentally ill. And we need to do this for the safety and the health of the next generation.